and welcome to the 4Point podcast. My name is Eric Stevens. I'm the Vice President of Marketing with 4Point. In the last episode, I introduced to you a clay tablet that was 4,000 years old, currently at Emory University, that was created in ancient Sumeria and was created using one of the first written languages that humans ever invented, called cuneiform. That tablet is a couple of really interesting things from our perspective. One, it's the oldest human artifact ever in space. The other thing, though, is it's a form. It's a requisition form. The first thing we did with writing was commerce and forms, recording transactions and recording data. The same kind of thing that we do every day with the forms that we have in our organizations. At 4Point, we deal with all sorts of different organizations that do all sorts of different kinds of forms, data capture, data generation. We deal with it all the time. The example of the cuneiform tablet and the example of how critical that forms are to human civilization. We wrote form-based data information for records before we wrote major stories, before we wrote down laws. That's how important forms are to civilization, to business, to commerce, to you every day. And I talked about that as a technology transformation. Writing was a technology transformation. Clay tablets was a technology transformation. The Sumerians used this to their advantage to build a civilization, an empire. Today, we face similar kinds of technology challenges, but the challenge that we face now is not the internet and digital transformations. It's the transformation away from an amazing technology that came after clay tablets, and that's paper. The struggle that we face often is not how do I automate these processes, it's how do I stop using paper? I've been working in the forms, records management, document management industry now for around 35 years. All right, I've seen a lot of things. And in the late 90s, early 2000s, we had the technology to move people away from paper, but we haven't. 20 years later, we're still talking to organizations about how they get off of paper. Now it's worse because they tried to automate pieces of those processes, elements of those processes. So now you could go to an organization like a bank, and you can say, oh, I need to do this. I need to make this change. I need to do something with my investments. Oh, okay, go here, download this form, fill it out, okay, print it, sign it, scan it, email it back to us. We'll re-enter all of that data, most of which we already knew about you, like your address and stuff. We'll re-enter all of that information, and then we'll make the change for you. And then we'll keep that signed document as a record, so that we know that you authorized that. And getting organizations to stop doing that is a tremendous struggle. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why. On the surface, it looks like, well, I don't want to change because customers are used to it. Okay. If you're hearing, or if you're saying, please don't say this, if you're hearing customers are used to it, okay, everybody's used to it, okay, that is not a good reason not to change. Okay, that's a very bad reason not to change. All right, you really need to investigate because the chances are you're wrong. When you actually go out and talk to your customers, customers go, no, I don't want to fill out the piece of paper. I don't want to sign it. I don't want to go to a branch. Okay, let me do it online. Let me do it so that I don't have to interact with people. Okay, let me do it in a way that's efficient. Okay, let me do it in a way that's immediate. That's what customers really want. So no, they're used to it. That's true. They're comfortable with it. That's true. But they don't necessarily like it. They're just accepting it. So don't go down that path. And the second one that we often hear is cost. Well, it's going to cost. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And you need to evaluate what the benefits are that you're going to get from those changes, from that digital transformation as you make that. All right. But there are significant ones. First off is your customers will be happier. Remember, we just mentioned that customers are going to be happier. They will like it. Okay. and you will save money. So even though it's going to cost you to do a transformation. So that's not really the core issues, because people know that. So what's really blocking us from doing it? What's really blocking us is the efficiency of the paper document. You see, because when we think of paper forms, we think they're a thing, one thing. They're not one thing. They're actually four different things, all encompassed in one. And anytime you can do four things with one technology, yeah, you're doing pretty good. And when we go to replace them, we have to replace all four of those things. So what are the four things that a paper form does for us? Well, the first thing it does is it presents information to us. When we get it, we can look at it and we can read what we need to know about it. This was your old address. Enter your new address. Enter your new address is the second thing that it does. It lets us capture information. So it presents information to us, a statement, an invoice. It captures information, a change of address form, those kinds of things, or it captures information, which is the things of authorization, consent, and authentication, your signature. We're going to talk about signatures in the next episode because that's a whole story unto itself. That's a whole discussion around consent, authentication, non-repudiation, and approvals and those kinds of things. But that's a form of data. What we're capturing is an intent associated with it. But the other things that we enter on the form, that's all captured. What else does a paper document, a paper form do for us? It presents, it captures, it moves, it routes. It goes through the organization as we fill it out and we send it places. People do things with it. They can act upon the information in there. Whether it's entering it into other systems, whether it's, oh, this person has ordered something, then I have to go and ship that item to them, whatever it is, it engages a transaction inside the organization. Operationally, it's an enabler or an activator or a trigger associated with things. The final thing that it does is it's a record. It says this person wanted to do this thing at this point in time, and we did this. All right. So it gives us that an audit trail in some cases, but it gives us an auditable record. All right. A document that says this is what we did, and it can be archived. Now, we've tried to apply multiple technologies to try to address bits and pieces of that. So Archival, we tried to scan documents originally. We tried to scan everything that came in. We stored them on laser discs and in multiple different systems all over the place. And some organizations are still doing things like that because they feel that they need those records of those paper-oriented forms or documents or signatures or whatever it is. So that's one, but we only solved one part of the problem. That only solved that records management problem. All right. We've tried to solve the presentation problem. Well, we'll put it on screen. Okay. If it's static information, then I can deliver it to you on screen. Okay. But when I need to enter any data, oh, I still have to go to the paper one. And that often is because we think a signature is required. All right. Again, we'll talk about that more in the next episode, but most signatures that you ask your customers to do most times aren't required. All right. There are times that there are signatures required, and there are times where a physical signature is required. Most cases, the only time a physical signature is required, okay, is when a doctor needs to sign a certificate about a change of life condition, i.e., life or death, or you need to sign a document that relates to life or death, a will. Okay. Well, those are pretty much it. There's a few others. They're special. You need to sign your passport. Okay, that needs to be a physical signature. But all business documents, they don't need to be signed physically. Okay, digitally, some of them should be signed. Many of them don't need signatures at all. And we know this. We know this because many years ago, we used to have to sign our credit card receipts before we could leave the restaurant. We don't do that now. And you know what? You didn't need to do it then. If you went in and you filled it out and didn't sign it or signed it with a bad signature, not your signature, didn't matter. They still charge your credit card. You still pay for it. Okay. When was the last time a server actually turned your card over and compared the signature on the back to the receipt? Yeah, signatures aren't required, right? So that's a fallacy. So if I don't need the signature, then why am I asking you to fill out a piece of paper? Well, cost, okay? It's going to take effort to move that up. But we've seen tremendous growth and tremendous change over the last 5 to 6 years where people have gone, I'm moving that online. I do all my banking online. I do receive no paper statements whatsoever. It's fantastic. I can transfer money and it happens immediately. I don't have to go into the bank. Why are you not offering that same service level to all of your customers, to all of your partners, to all of your dealers? The technology exists. The technology exists that allows you to do that. One of the other reasons that's a challenge is because we are still duplicating the paper experience online. And you can see this when someone goes and, oh, I made the form. I made it into a fillable PDF. It's on the website now. You can download it. You fill it out online. Then you print it. Then you sign it. Then you scan it. Then you email it back to me. Then I re-enter it. Okay, why didn't you just capture it online? Yeah, because I have to then build a web app. Well, there's ways that we can do to lower the costs associated with that, the ways that we can do to transition that. But one of the problems with that is that we think of the paper document, the 8.5 by 11 document, the A4 document, as the boundary, that it has to be this. How do I get this up on the screen so it looks the same, so that nobody has any different experiences? No, people want a different experience. People want a guided experience for it. We still talk to organizations today that have some of the worst designed forms that I've seen in 35 years. All right. And my classic example of this, and you may have examples of this in your organization today, we continue to see them. It's a multi-page document, a multi-page form with different sections in it. And across the top, it has a series of checkboxes. Is this an add? Is this a change? Is this a delete? And you're supposed to go and pick which one of those, and then you go fill the section out that is appropriate for that. But there are cascading sections, so that if you're filling out section 2, which is an update of your address, you enter your old address, you enter your new address, and then it says, oh, if you have to change dependents for this, then you go to section 5 and fill out that piece. And what it was a designer, a form designer, trying to cram as much as possible into the minimum surface area of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Well, that's not a good user experience. That's a horrible user experience. Okay, it's just bad. Well, how you fix that? If we put that online, then I can have a pull down at the beginning that says, what do you want to do? I want to change my address. Oh, this is your old address? Confirm this. Yes, this is my old address. What's your new address? Here's my new address. I'm going to change this old address to this new address. Or confirm. Done. That's what people want. That's the user experience that they want. Now, was that a form? Yeah, that was a form. Because what did we do? We presented you with information. We captured that information. Then I took that information away from you because you're no longer part of this. You're done. Your part in this is done as a customer. I took it inside the organization and I moved it directly into the system that it needed to go. And that system went, oh, I've made a change and I'll write my audit record, because your systems are already doing that. So what that demonstrates is that we can break up that paper form, that 4 different things, that presentation, that data capture layer, that movement and routing layer, and that archival layer, that audit layer. We can take those and split those apart and have each piece be done by a separate, different, new piece of technology, whether it's a back-end system, whether it's a new front-end interface for a user or for a customer, for a dealer, for a partner, whatever it happens to be. All of those things are possible. But you say, hold on, I still need to produce contracts. I still have agreements, and I still do need signatures on those. Yes, you are absolutely right. But what we want to do is capture the data from all the systems that you have internally, because you have all that data, or a lot of that data. Then we want to present to the user and say, this is the data that I've got. Here's the new pieces of information I need. Just ask them about the new pieces. Get the new pieces. Then we want to take that. Now we can turn it into an 8.5 by 11 multi-page document, an agreement, a contract, a partnership, whatever it happens to be. Okay, an order, a purchase order, all of those things. Lay it out automatically in the system. No human touches it. Insert all the proper terms and conditions. Insert all the proper clauses. If we don't have a ship to address because it's not relevant for this product, don't have a block for it. Roll everything up. If we have 10 lines on an invoice, then show the 10 lines and don't have 5 pages. Okay. All of those kinds of things can be done automatically. And if we need a signature, we can put a digital signature on it. We can send it to that person who has to sign it, or multiple people, internal and external. Route it to them so that they can now digitally sign it on their mobile device, on their tablet, on their computer. They can sign the document. Now we lock that document down. Now we got a document record. It goes back to the system, but I still have all the data. So the data goes into the back end systems and we parse that out. Now we've taken a magnificent technology paper that has lasted us over 100 years, maybe 200 years, depending on how you count that. Okay. Maybe longer if you count ledgers. Okay. And we go back 500 years. Okay. So that's a technology that's lasted a long time. Not as long as cuneiform tablets, which lasted for almost 2,000 years. All right. In use, in active use. So not as long as that, but a long time. But what we want to do is transition to the new technology, which enables new capabilities. The other thing, as I said before, is this actually reduces your cost. You're not maintaining separate documents for different operational functions. You're incorporating it online. Users are doing a lot more of their activity themselves. They're happier. They don't have to have a printer at home because they have to print and sign things for you. They don't have to scan things and send them in. You're reducing cost of data entry. You're reducing the cost of rework because the data is going from the user into your systems, validated, checked, and inserted correctly. And your systems are updated immediately. So you're gaining a turnaround time and a response time that improves, again, your customer service levels. So that's why we want organizations to look at how they're going to transition away from paper. The challenge is yeah, it's difficult. We're used to it. Everybody's used to it. And it's always change is difficult. And there are costs. There's no question about that. But in the long run, you're going to get a better user experience. You're going to get a better operational experience. You're going to reduce your maintenance costs. You're going to reduce your operational costs. You're going to improve your efficiencies and you're going to reduce errors. That's why we want organizations to move away. And breaking free of the paper, breaking free of the 8.5 by 11 model, no paper, no scanning, no emails, no data entry, all done online, including signatures. All of that is entirely capable today with the technology that's you can get right now. In the next episode, I'm going to talk more about digital signatures, about approval, authentication, non-repudiation, and the critical factors associated with that, and why people believe they need to use signatures when in fact they don't. So I'll give you some examples of those. So thanks very much for listening. Take care, and we'll talk to you next time.